Creating Engagement in the Classroom, Understanding the Challenges of the Modern-Day Learning Environment
is written by Kevin Popovic and Ryan Vanshur.
Welcome to the 9th and final webinar in the series, Creating Engagement in the Classroom. I'm Kevin Popovic, a lecturer at San Diego State University. Throughout the first 8 webinars, you've learned about the role of technology inside the higher education classroom and the impact it can have on teaching strategies, learning outcomes, and much, much more. Today we wrap up the series looking at what does a successful approach really look like and how do we best leverage technology for students and professors alike.
I'm Ryan Vanshur, an undergraduate student here at San Diego State University and co-author with Kevin in our ebook, Creating Engagement in the Classroom. And today our webinar is titled Digital Literacy, the New Educator Evaluation. And we'll grant some finality to many of the discussions and points we've made throughout the course of this series. And here's what we have in store. One, we're going to go through, how has the instructor's job changed? Second, what is the top-down approach to leadership and education technology? Glance at the professor's view, dip into the student's view, and then of course take a look at what does the current research say, followed by some Q&A at the very end to wrap up the webinar series.
Well, the role of the teacher has always been to expand learning. The predisposition of the teacher has been inclined to search for knowledge and a natural curiosity to learn more. Right? The requirements needed to apply for the position within higher education have always included knowledge, skill sets, and certifications. Educators, by definition, are employed to manage students and convey information clearly, using their position of authority to present new concepts and to affect positive learning outcomes in the classroom. From learning new subjects to adopting new techniques, the requirements for this position grew over time to include a working knowledge of technology, an understanding of social media, and a proficiency in digital communication. With these, instructors can stay ahead of the curve and develop strategies and teaching techniques that resonate with a continuously evolving student body and campus culture. Without them, educators risk becoming irrelevant to the students and ineffective for the school to which they are employed. Throughout our series, we constantly echo that EdTech, educational technology, is becoming relevant to all students by both helping and deliver improved learning outcomes and by increasing students' digital literacy. Numerous technologies are now used in educational institutions all around the country to deliver blended and personalized content, to reduce the dropout rates, and to motivate students to learn, among other benefits, all of which are helping to improve learning outcomes.
We can actually observe an example of the changing requirements for today's educators by evaluating a top-down approach to leadership and education technology, right? And so here at San Diego State University, we can see it in the 2014-15 strategic plan, where they actually show how continuous curiosity can be built into the campus culture, right? And they called it Priority Area 1 of the document, which basically was titled Promote Student Success Across the University. And there's a second part of that initiative that is basically states that they're attempting to identify pedagogical and technological improvements and innovations that will enhance academic success and progress to a degree. And so the campus's strategic plan, they call it the Strategic Plan Learning Analytics Working Group. They actually did a study, and it demonstrated that providing information about appropriate academic behavior triggered by students' poor academic habits, for example, not attending class, actually reduced failing grades for Pell-eligible students in an introductory psych course. And so this year, I know they're wrapping up the second one where they have new courses that are being explored with more detailed triggers and actually more extensive interventions with that goal of significantly reducing failure rates. There is a K through 20 survey done by the Software and Information Industry Association, or SIA as they're called, shows the secondary education smart device users are now providing real value from the data collected while engaging with the tools. And so these current technology-based tools, the usage rates show important uses among university level adopters as well, showcasing just how prevalent the changes for teaching requirements have become in the modern classroom. We're looking at like 80% of uses are now reporting tracking some type of student performance. 70% report usages that show improved instruction, and 60% are identifying students' instructional needs with these technologies. Again, another 50% are trying to personalize learning. And so there's large proportions of technology using professors that are using it for very, very specific reasons, and the data is starting to show the outcomes of these use cases.
Now, I'm part of the generation that grew up on TV and marveled when a fourth network, Fox, was proposed. Why did we need another? I mean, we have three. I also saw the birth of CNN, MTV, HBO, and I watched technology evolve as the way we consume media changed faster than we could understand. I saw Pong turn into Atari. I watched a PC turn into a Mac. AOL grew to become social media, and everyone above the age of 21 just tried to keep up, right? Payphones dissolved, mobile phones evolved, and all of it, everything, is now wrapped up in a smartphone to do anything we can imagine. Simply owning the smartphone, however, is not enough. True digital literacy requires an understanding of the technology and the skills to operate, all while forming competencies and a critical reflection on how these skills and competencies can be best applied. The idea of social engagement and interaction both during and outside of lectures is also taking center stage now. Increasingly, it's not about being able to connect. It's about actually connecting and then giving that connection meaning and purpose. As the roles and the desired outcomes evolve, we've left with as many questions as answers. How do we get professors to participate in this process? How do we provide sustainable digital literacy support once they do engage? How do we demonstrate that digital literacy should be compulsory and expected rather than an optional strategy? And most importantly, what does a successful approach to digital literacy look like from all perspectives?
From the student's perspective, like I can attest in my academic career, right? I have frequently found myself defending early adopter status of technology because I came from industry after I was in the military for a while, and I chose that as my mechanism for receiving, organizing information. When I came back for my undergraduate degree, I found that the technology was becoming increasingly useful for me, both inside and outside the lectures. I see, I'm one of the guys who sees the way, my digital literacy as an enhancer that really supplements all of my other intelligence. I have apps that have helped me manage and expand awareness on almost every aspect of my life, including education. And so I just hit the big 30 mark, a few months back, and I spent nearly half my life now developing these skills. And when I got into the university setting, I was told by multiple professors that in the classroom there was no place for this type of learning environment. And so when I transferred to SDSU, I remember getting in these heated ed tech policy debates, in office hours. And a professor, one who told me, I think he kind of positioned it as, I've been fighting against this my whole entire career, as if there was, some unspoken war that we were a part of, and we were on opposite sides of this battlefield. And I think back and I always wonder, what was it in his head that placed us, at this sort of clash of preferred learning styles. And so fortunately, though, I think the trend is slowing a bit. Obviously, there's more campuses and educators who are becoming more open to the idea of working with technology. Rather than going to war against it. And I think the necessary due diligence coming from, all the expanded literature and the peer-reviewed publications and all the new tech-based teaching, this is all opening up classrooms to a new type of educator who I think is going to be able to meet the demands of these new types of students who are evolving out of the tech-based population. And as the requirements for teaching in the modern higher education classroom are continuously changing, I find the population most benefiting is the student body. And so by bridging that gap, as we like to say, between professors and technology, which in turn bridges that gap between professors and students, these changes can, I think, bring three key points, right? Educators, technology, and students much closer together, which should result in better learning outcomes for everybody, provided educators are striving to expand learning. And what better way to accomplish this task than utilizing the devices that students are most prone to leverage for their benefit.
Well, commonly we hear about either top-down, administrator-led, or bottom-up, student-led approaches to employing technology inside the classroom. Well, why not both? Never has each side of the podium had so much to offer each other. The professors with their expertise in training, and the students with their firm grasp of the latest trends and technologies. By leveraging both, we can facilitate positive learning outcomes that have never been achieved before. Now, some administrators are taking the lead by researching best practices, identifying solutions, and re-examining the standards required to teach in their schools. Students, meanwhile, impact the classroom by expanding how we communicate. Social media has always been led by younger demographics and early technology adopters. Everyone else remains trying to catch up, but the shift is generational and will continue.
And bridging the gap between those two requires, like, one, leadership, also time, a huge investment of time, opportunities for peer-supported training, and also the incentive to take a step in the ed tech direction to prove adoption, right, implementation, and success. It also requires adequate bandwidth, infrastructure, and support. Administrators can help to do their part by creating an environment for success, by providing that infrastructure, both literally and figuratively, to support these types of programs. And while students are continuing to uphold their end of the deal simply by purposely leveraging these devices that they're already using in class, I think this is what's going to lead us to a more effective classroom environment. And the benefits of incorporating that hybrid top-down, bottom-up approach become clear with each success story that's shared. The professional requirements for teaching with technology in the higher education classrooms are still changing, and of course they will continue to change so long as technology does. But the desired outcomes remain the same, right? We want to just expand learning experience.
So let's end the series with one final round of questions to really bring our own expertise to the table. Ryan, how are professors using technology on your campus? What are you seeing works and what doesn't? And have you really experienced any triumphs, something you made you say, wow, that was really cool?
Well, so my experience in technology obviously is a little more in depth than most students because I founded the education company right before he graduated, and so I really like to see a platform that we as students created in our time going through the classes being used by multiple professors for multiple different use cases, and so we're really helping to create that engagement, whether it's just streamlining the attendance, offering that real-time feedback, creating those social learning channels, and feedback loops for that kind of stuff. We're just seeing the technology getting flexed into different types of teaching strategy, and so I can't really say that there's one specific that I would consider a triumph, but I think just the growing group of professors that are willing to make that leap into the ed tech space, I think that's a triumph in and of itself, because you're getting professors who typically were turned off to anything technology now seeing that there's some thought being put behind how it's used. And by adopting the best practices, they're seeing that there's really not much to fear when you do bring this into the classroom. Provided that you've done your research and you prepared your class for that implementation.
Yeah, good answer.
Similar lines, KP. Let's talk about how technology has impacted the way you've been teaching. You mentioned going from back when there was TVs and VCRs to everything that's available today. Can you give us two examples? One positive, one negative. That would best represent your experiences with technology in the classroom.
Yeah, I think that the positive examples are a lot easier to find because I've, all bias aside, being a fan of technology, I'm looking for the best of things. I think one of the things that has been helpful is to have a system where I can reach outside of my classroom. I got to say that for all the things that people have different opinions, I find Blackboard to be a great use of technology to not only help organize the classroom, but also to extend the reach outside of the classroom. At the same time, I find things like CourseKey to be able to fill in those gaps where Blackboard isn't able to assist with technology in the classroom. And as far as on the negative side, I don't want to seem like all things point to technology, but I got to say I really can't say that there has been a negative side to technology, right? Even to those things where you could argue that gets problematic or challenging, right? Where students are searching using Google to try and find an answer to a question that I've asked. I can't say that I completely think that it's a bad thing. When I look at the positive in it, at least they're looking for an answer, mm-hmm. right? So at least they're engaged.
Yeah. Okay. Well, awesome. I definitely love that answer, and I think it speaks to the overall somewhat, I guess, sink or swim nature of the whole series. Done properly, technology can obviously enhance and enrich the learning experience, and then done in the wrong ways, though, it can create, a messy situation all the way around.
Right, that's most definitely true. And I think we hope that through these webinars that the listeners can really better identify the positives versus the negatives. And we hope that you'll be able to bring this research and these experiences into your own higher education classrooms.
For even more inspiration on this subject, you can download our ebook, Creating Engagement in the Classroom, to learn more about how to create engagement in your own classroom. And as always, whether you're that teacher or student, There's more to learn from everybody, so please feel free to contribute to the conversation. You can add these types of comments to our blogs found on our website, creatingengagementintheclassroom.org. And be sure to follow the conversation on social media by using the hashtag creatingengagement.
Thanks for joining our conversation throughout this series, and please consider sharing these with your fellow educators and of course your students so they can share their expertise, opinions, and experiences as well. Thanks everyone.
Creating Engagement in the Classroom, Understanding the Challenges of the Modern Day Learning Environment is written by Kevin Popovic and Ryan Vanshur.
To learn more about creating engagement in your classroom, visit creatingengagementintheclassroom.org or follow hashtag creatingengagement.